Hello, for episode 12, we are continuing to talk about making contacts that would be helpful to you and what you do about it. Uh, this is a follow up to episode 11. We were talking about the different ways you meet people and what you could ask them for. And one of the points and the reasons to do this is how complex this industry is.
Yeah, that's the because as an artist, there's so many other things that you can do while you're developing your artistry to really understand the business. Like when you actually dig into the music business, there's so many parts of it. So as a way to earn a living or just understand the different facets of the industry, I mean, we have a lot of suggestions in terms of attending or working at conferences, working voluntary. Depends on your situation, how old you are. Um, yeah, just what your financial situation is. But if the opportunity presents itself and you are young enough that you can afford to volunteer or afford to intern at certain places that you get
And if you're
an
old enough,
education.
you can actually apply for a job. But as many of you already do, working in a recording studio, working at an independent label, and
Let's
working
say
at a
management
management
office,
office, an agency, a booking
booking agent.
agency, even at a venue. If you, a Webster Hall here in New York or someplace that has a lot of music groups that go in there, whether you volunteer first or whether or not you're old enough that you want to eventually have a
Hmm.
job, it's still a good idea to volunteer first.
Right.
Let them get to know you. And then after 2, 3 months, if you have to leave, hopefully you have made friends there. And that is your goal. Your goal is to observe and make friends
And learn something.
and learn something. But the friends are what in the future will have made those 2 or 3 months worth working for free. You need contacts, and you need to be able to ask people questions when you are unsure. And these people will listen to your CDs because you've made friends with them.
Right.
Example also about conferences. Kevin has a story about Billboard, right?
Yeah, there's one thing I guess years ago when I was definitely trying to be involved in everything and meet as many people as possible. But even to back up a little bit, two things that are important: your image and your overall personality. It's just basically how people perceive you. So as long as your personality, because not everybody is outgoing, but there has to be something that's interesting about you enough that people either remember you years later or that you made such an impression the first time that as you grow and that person grows within whatever they're doing in the industry, that you maintain contact over time, and that you just kind of stay relevant. Just don't be out of sight. So if you go to more than one conference, you'll notice you'll start seeing the same people, and people just kind of remember. You always just want to be
But
remembered.
please, 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 please remember, as somebody who has been on the other side of the conference table speaking, you may be remembered as being obnoxious if you're
Right.
constantly trying to say, "Will you listen to my
What do you want to be
CD?"
remembered for?
So be careful. It is about being somebody that is likable and interesting, and
Hmm.
that's work.
So I guess to go back to my story, I've been on two sides where I'm attending the conference and where I've actually worked with a group of partners to put on a conference, which is a lot of work. So Mitch has been on the other side as a presenter and a person as a part of the staff or the board of the panel of the conference. So just in terms of developing a contact, it's something for me that happened kind of natural. It's either I was at working a table next to a person that I got lucky enough to maintain a contact. Casual conversation, just you're talking about the day, and just as you talk to that person and just build rapport and just establish a liking for that person and vice versa, you get the opportunity to finally exchange contact information and recognize, they've kind of been around you for that conference. So if you're working it, you have a day or two, that person can see your work ethic. That person can say, oh, this is a person I wouldn't mind, at least talking to for advice. So you
And
always
and
stroke
and
that person's ego.
right, but you're stroking their ego because you actually know who they are.
Right.
If you walk into a conference or a party and you hear, "Oh, so and so runs a label," and you don't know anything about the label, you don't know who their artists are, you don't know anything about it, you have less of a chance of stroking their ego in the right way.
So do your homework
Do
before
your
you show up at the
homework.
conference. Know who's going to be there so that if you do get a chance to meet that key person, you at least understand a little bit about the business. So makes you sound a little bit
So
more
tell us a
knowledgeable.
story about your meeting the editor of Billboard.
Senior editor of Billboard. I won't name names in this video, but very.
It's not that hard to look up
Hey,
Billboard
hey, if you want
online.
to do
So
it, very cool lady. I had the opportunity to volunteer at 2 separate Billboard conferences, R&B conferences. Just establish a pretty cool relationship to the point where, she could also consider me as a mentee and her as a mentor. And at the time, I wasn't living in New York, so I just kept in contact just over the years. And I actually had a situation where I took so many pictures. She was in one of them, and just so she remembered who I was, whenever I would send her an email a year later, 2 years later, I always sent the email with the picture that I took with her, so she would remember who I was. So it's something that worked out, and just wasn't sure what was going to happen. So I just kind of something I kept in my back pocket. So when I moved to New York, if I need to reach out to her, she at least will still remember who I am. And this we're talking 6 to 8 years ago. So now I know whenever I see her, she'll still at least remember who I am.
important part of the story is, as much as the world has become social networking and iPads and email, the truth is you make the impression face to face. It is still extremely important that people get to look in your eyes, see what you think, what you know, see your smile, and just sending them a video online is not the answer. As many of you will know, if you say certain things by email or text, they can be misinterpreted. People will think you're angry when you're not. People may think you're egotistic when you're not, because it's all a bunch of written words. They need to hear the tone of your voice. So please get off your butts and walk up to the receptionist of the place that you want to work. Get to know the receptionist, make friends, be nice, do not use up too much time, leave some information, say this is where I want to be, this is who I want to talk to for this reason, this is the kind of advice I want, and be nice. If you are shy, get over it. Of course, that's easier said than done. I understand
Right,
that.
you might want a
But
different career if you're too
yeah,
shy.
right, but
Say that.
you can be a phenomenal singer or songwriter and be very shy. A lot of people go into entertainment because they are shy and they feel they can express themselves. Well, figure out a personality you're going to be, and eventually your music will speak for you. But first, it's got to be you. And we will continue this again to a whole nother level tomorrow.
That's right.
All right? And have a wonderful day.